Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Lori and Alice Ferguson Foundation. That was actually partly an old bio. I'm here to talk a little bit about Bethesda Green, but I am no longer the director of Bethesda Green. I was the founding director of an organization. So my first question is, how many of you have actually heard of Bethesda Green? Familiar? So a pretty good part of the room. Anyone heard of Prince George's Green? Good. Ooh, I know. Silver Spring Green. Arlington Green. Baltimore Green Works. Good. So the reason I'm asking these questions is there's a number of these kinds of groups that are following this model that Adam talked about. It's the public-private partnership. And my background, I did have an opportunity to work with the British Embassy. I worked in economic development, and Adam talks about the connections. You know, everything is connected. That's the basic concept of a public-private partnership. It's really about bringing together and leveraging the strengths of each sector in a community, and there are multiple sectors. First, as he mentioned, was government. Second would be business, and third would be the civic forms. So Livability project actually started prior to the Bethesda Green, and it based a model on how to make systemic change in a community around sustainability. And I want to share with you a story, which is Bethesda Green, about how that actually works. So, a little bit of history about Bethesda Green. It started back in 2008. We got a $25,000 grant from our county council member, and the response was, enjoy this, make good use of the funds, because that might be all you get as far as our government funding. Now, that wasn't really the case, but his point was, you need to be creative and figure out how to create other financing sources. This is not a government-run initiative. So we launched in 2008, and we brought together a board of directors that was really quite diverse. And this was the formation of what is a public-private partnership. On our board of directors, we brought in a representative from the Chamber of Commerce. We decided we really needed to communicate and work closely with the business community. We brought in a number of developers who are in the community. Because if you want to get somebody who's really going to make a change around sustainability, you bring in the people, some of the businesses who are really driving a lot of the growth. Government. We had someone from the Department of Environmental Protection. We had a council member. Not from the early stages, but probably within the third year, we actually had the Director of Economic Development sitting on our board of directors at Bethesda Green. So we brought together people who represented all different sectors and all different viewpoints around our community. We even went out and found a resident, somebody who was very active in the neighborhood associations. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have their voice at the table, they're the ones who are going to implement a lot of these changes, or they're consumers. They're people who have a vested interest in the future of their communities. So we built this organization as a 501c3. Not one of the sectors owned it, so it wasn't a government program, it wasn't a business program. It was a separate organization that said, we're here together, as that connection point again, to collectively address a number of issues that affect our community. Sustainability issues. So what kind of issues are those? The word sustainability, 3 areas of sustainability: economic, social, and environmental. So on the social side, we had a volunteer program. We got people involved early on. We said, you know what, we want to make this about the community and engage the community. They need to be part of this. And they have hours, they have passions. Let's elicit that. On the environmental side, we covered a whole range of issues. Some of the things that we talked about were transportation. Bethesda's got some serious transportation issues. Recycling, and I'll share a story about recycling and what we did in that particular area. Watershed, food and agriculture. Montgomery County has one of the largest ag-reserves in the country, actually in the world. It's the second largest outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's a real asset that we want to protect. People have concerns about what we do with our agriculture and our food system. So there was an opportunity to have a dialogue about those particular subjects. We talked about transportation, and we were involved in bringing capital bike share to Montgomery County, and a whole range of other issues. When you look at sustainability, it is broad. Again, that goes back to what Adam says about things are connected. So we built up a board of directors that are now 17 people. And on January 24th, 2008, we did a launch. And we brought in press, and we brought a lot of people to say, you know, come see what this organization's about. We're new, we want your money, we want your ideas, we want your time. And we had 385 people come to the room that wanted to know about what this organization was. And that's when we actually launched as an organization. We told everyone, we're here to work with you as partners, and we're going to actually make a difference in the Bethesda community. Look at the last line. It took a little while. You know, any nonprofit, any organization in general, it takes a while to find your core vision, your core mission, your strategic focus area, especially in a public-private partnership when you're bringing different stakeholders together. You're bringing nonprofits who think of the world very differently than businesses or government do. So one of the ideas around bringing up a successful public-private partnership is getting everyone on the same page, finding a common agenda, creating common metrics, and as an organization, making sure that you serve the needs of each of those organizations. And we picked up those three terms, those three focus areas, as what we wanted to concentrate on. Incubate, create the next generation of solutions through a business incubator or other mechanisms to help grow ideas and innovation around sustainability. Educate, raise awareness about all those types of topics I just mentioned a few minutes ago, but helping do that to businesses, to neighborhoods, to students. And then actually not just talking about it, having a dialogue, but facilitating green solutions. Getting out there as an organization and saying, we now, because we brought these stakeholders together, can actually drive this change. So we created a business model, and that business model, and you're starting to get a sense of it, it's about leveraging partnerships. Each of those sectors and each of the organizations who are involved brings a different role to the table. Adam mentioned businesses' drivers are typically profit. That's what a business's mandate is. So a business wants to be involved in a program like this because they want some kind of return on their involvement. They may have a great product or service. They might actually just want to get recognition for being part of an organization. Government has a goal, and that's to provide services to the people. So now all of a sudden, they're actually providing services to an organization like Bethesda Green, but guess what? They're not having to fund it all and have the leadership at all, but they're at the table. They're part of that whole organization that's creating that. So each organization has a role at the table. So that's one of the things about public-private partnership. Everyone doesn't do the same thing. Everyone comes into the organization or the entity with different goals, outcomes, and contributions. And the goal of the public-private partnership is to say, we need to make sure that each of them walks away with what it is that they're looking for. Community engagement and leadership, an opportunity to bring other voices at the table. It's not about one group like the government saying, you know, this is what you need to do. No, we want your voice. We want to get you involved in this. And as a matter of fact, you know, we had, for the first time, our Department of Environmental Protection and our Department of Economic Development working together. First time ever. I mean, when we met with them, said that we don't typically do things together. So we had different groups together having a dialogue that may not have taken place before. So I want to give an example of one of the things that we did, which was very successful, and I think it's very relevant to Alice Ferguson Foundation. It's waste cleanup. So a public-private partnership, we're helping scale up solutions. We're not necessarily creating them, but some of them might already exist. So our county has a wonderful program where they go to a local high school, and they bring up a truck, and they say, we're here to collect electronic waste. You can take it to the transfer station, but we're going to make it easy on you. We're going to bring the truck to your neighborhood, and you get the word out. And they would do that four times a year or so, I think, and they would collect between 8,000 and 10,000 pounds. We got involved because we had connections to all these different groups in the community, and we were really about engaging all these different partners. We would actually help promote this event and get the word out. The first time we did it, this is a picture here, they weren't really happy with us because we collected over 100,000 pounds, a 10x multiplier, because we told the community about this program. We were involved, we had volunteers, we made it a much bigger program than it was, and it was hugely successful. They didn't finish unpacking these things till 1:30 in the morning. It had never been anything of that size before. But it just shows an example. A public-private partnership can also help scale a program that the government provides as well. So it really benefits a lot of different kinds of partners. One of the other things about a public-private partnership, and this is really a foundational component of it, is funds come in from different groups. What made Bethesda Green unique is we get that $25,000 grant to start with. At the end of the summer, when I left, we were at almost a $600,000 organization. organization. Now that's not all cash. A lot of that's in kind as well. But still, we had a value of that amount of money, and a lot of that was corporate sponsors and businesses that were part of this. So we created a model that said, there's something in it for you as an organization, but it also benefits your community. This is the right kind of a thing to do, and we want to give you a voice at the table. Again, this isn't someone dictating to business person what you need to be doing. This is an opportunity for you to be sitting down and be working with them in conjunction with them to define what we want for the community. So a few of the programs that we had, there's too many to go into detail on a few, but I'm going to select a few. Our Green Business Incubator, one of our great stories was that Capital One, it was Chevy Chase Bank, taking my time here, actually gave us physical space in downtown Bethesda. 4,000 square feet was donated on the second floor of a bank branch, which was phenomenal. That just doesn't happen often. But they liked what we were doing. They became our partner in this process. And we ended up converting that space into an education center and a business incubator. The business incubator, at its peak, had 17 companies in, and we were working with Montgomery County's Department of Economic Development, Small Business Development Center, and a whole range of other groups to provide services to grow these businesses, which, by the way, all had green solutions as their focus, and to help them support them. We could have never done that without the government's involvement. But we also had businesses who had expertise in accounting, in legal issues, in marketing. They were part of it because they got to promote their services, but they also gave things to these incubator companies in kind. And it became a win-win all the way around. So again, I'm going back to that word because it's one of my favorite concepts when we talk about sustainability. It's the connections. You build that container big enough, you make those relationships win-win. That's what a successful public-private partnership looks like. Another example is recycling bins. Montgomery County has never had recycling bins in a public space before. We've got a wonderful program for businesses and residents, but in the park areas that we didn't have it. So we went to our solid waste division and said, if we can get this recycling material to you, plastic bottles and other things that you would have consumer waste, would you accept it? They said, yeah, no one's ever asked us for that before, but sure, we would take it. We went to our local business improvement district, Bethesda in partnership, and we said, do you have any excess capacity that you might be able to take this? And they said, you know what, we can, but we were never able to work with the county before, but you guys seem to have fixed that. The only other part of the equation that we needed to address was the recycling bins, because there was nothing in the budget line item for that. So we went out and we put a sponsorship program together where companies can put their names on the recycling bin, small. Actually, in the center of it, we put an educational fact around recycling and sustainability, and we raised funds for 35 bins, which over time collects 14 tons of plastics a year. So pretty significant numbers, and the only way it happened is by bringing all those stakeholders together. These are some other examples of some programs that we've done. Again, I think for the sake of time, I can't go through all of them, but many of them have components that bring all the different groups together. So some lessons learned. What does this mean about a public-private partnership? Flexibility is ingrained in the culture. If you're a nonprofit and you're now sitting at the table with businesses, just by the nature of working together, you need to be flexible. Local focus on increasing supply and demand. This is more of the green or the model we created. This is really about, we want to build the solutions, but also build the demand for those solutions at the same time. It really is. It's really market-based at the same time, but it's helping create holistic solutions. Our broad focus was its strength. I've been told many times, like, Dave, you're trying to do too much. And I said, that's what we are supposed to be doing. These issues are big, and we want to have, there's a term called collective impact. It's really about changing systems. So it's really about that broad focus, which is successful. The private sector is not only important, it's critical. We needed the private sector. The organization would have never survived, nor would the changes have been all that impactful if it wasn't for the private sector's involvement. And we have stories about how we've helped change corporations by providing them kind of tools they wouldn't have before. Financing, big, always. Every organization has financing issues. So we bring together, all sorts of creative ways of bringing financing, and we use them all. We use whatever we can do to get financing. That's what we do. That's how you grow an organization. Strategic partnerships, we talked a lot about that, but that's really key. And then the nonprofit structure really was what allowed this public-private partnership to work. Public-private partnerships can be set up in many different ways, but this structure worked for us because organizations wanted to support us based on a couple of different things. So as I said in the very beginning, that Bethesda Green is a model, but there's also many other models. I'm going to give a shout out to somebody who just walked in the room. Beck, if you can raise your hand. That's our colleague from Baltimore Greenworks over here. There are 12 groups right now that are all working in the region over here. These are some of the logos here. We can talk a little bit more about those. But this model is being replicated in a number of other areas in the region, and these are some of the players here. Thank you very much.